with 17 issues of non-compliance. 11 were no proof of residence, 4 out of area, 2 invalid ID. And we had 1 new COMIDA sign delivered to BKY Gardner, USA. Any questions on that one?
Go ahead.
Okay, so then I will read our exemptions that were approved during January of 2025. The first one is for Fairlife, Crosby Brownlee / Local 46. Under the no local labor available, Crosby Brownlee is asking for an exemption for 1 journeyman sheet metal worker on that Fairlife project. Local 46 has provided a letter for the worker stating his experience and skill levels necessary for that project. And the work will be coming from Cuyahoga County, and we consider that waiver to be valid and recommended to be processed. Any questions on that waiver? Okay. The next one I have is the 49 East Ave for Rochester Davis Fetch. This was for specialty and price point. They're being hired to perform fireproofing work on steel beams in the 49 East Avenue project in downtown Rochester. RDF only has 2 workers who can perform the work, and they both reside in Tonawanda, New York. The Plasterers Union number 9 notified us they don't have any local workers in the defined COMIDA local area. We reached out to the Builders Exchange of Rochester and provided with some local companies who could perform the work. We had the folks at Reedman, the GC on the project, contact those companies for quotes, but the lowest comparable quote was 28% higher than Rochester Davis Fetch. Any questions on that one? And the final one I have is for Sibley Redevelopment 2 LP. It's for Henderson Johnson. It's under specialty. Based out of Syracuse, New York, they'll be performing the floor leveling services at the Sibley Redevelopment project. The gypcrete material being used in the project is a floor underlayment material commonly used in multifamily housing, hotels, and mixed-use projects. This material is fire resistant and reduces sound transmission between floors. It also dries at a quicker rate than concrete, making it easier to install. There are no local contractors that perform this work in the COMIDA designated area. So you've seen this one several times for Henderson Johnson or Truax and Hovey. They're just not, unfortunately, a contractor yet. I discussed this with some members of the trades, and no one is unfortunately qualified yet. That's why it's a repeat one you've seen over and over again.
So floor level.
That is it.
Is it tilted?
No, it's basically they put this coating over the floor that basically just smooths out and levels the surface. And again, it provides a sound barrier, so it's commonly used in multi-story, developments like we have in the city, especially downtown. And a lot of new builds use it as well. Hotels, most commonly, things of that nature. So
Years.
Good.
So
Any questions?
you even said, Kevin, that you thought it was odd with all of these that come before us that we don't have anybody available.
correct. I don't know why it seems like a lucrative market for somebody. I don't know why no one's jumped on it yet, but unfortunately there are just no contractors. I think Ray can agree with that as well.
Yeah.
And I talked to Kim with the Builders Exchange. Just no one here that's doing that work yet. Start a business
That's
idea?
been going on for years now.
It has been. Yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions?
That's
Raise
not
on
good update. Thank you.
Have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin.
Kevin.
Next item on the agenda is the financial report, and Anna is going to give us a summary of the highlights of the financial report.
Thank you, Ann.
I printed one.
Generally, in January and upon the first quarter of the fiscal year are slower for fee income due to the fact that many projects are closed in the prior quarter. So cash is down $3.8 million from, I'm not sure if when Greg puts the singular letter M, if he means million or thousands, because in accounting lingo, millions is usually reflected as 2 M's and thousands is 1 M. So I'm gonna say cash is down 3.8 M from December, primarily driven by 3.6 M of net treasury investments made during the month. I'm thinking that means millions, not $3,800.
Yeah.
But I'm just prefacing that.
I think that's probably thousands.
Oh, it's thousands, so $3,800 we're down
Probably.
due to $3,600 of net treasury investments.
No.
Okay.
Is it gonna be?
Investments are up a net of 3.6M due to increased investments of excess cash from the share life fees collected at the end of 2024. All other assets and liabilities are in line with our expectations and budget. Fee income, we budgeted for $2 million in fee income in 2024, and that was divided evenly over 12 months. And actuals will vary based on the timing of when the fees are actually collected. Program and community development, you'll see, is short of budget projections due to the difficulty of predicting exact timing of workforce development expenditures month by month. The difference should even out as the year goes on and bills are received from each of the programs respectively. The workforce development program has set aside $7.4 million of funding as of December, and has committed $6.7 million of various programs. And there's currently $1.7 million available for additional programs, and that's due to the board setting aside, allocating percentage of, an increased percentage of fee income at last month's meeting. And overall, the remaining expenses are well aligned with our budget. So thank you for bearing with me. Not the CFO, but
That was pretty smooth.
Thank you so much.
Good job.
I have a couple of questions. So for total revenue, we are down considerably from budget and from the prior year. It's 100,000 off of January 31st, 2024. Is there a catch up on the horizon? Do we have some big projects in the line that, you know, we're gonna catch up with budget
We have a
fairly
decent
soon?
pipeline of projects that haven't closed yet.
Right.
We'll see some closings in the month of February this month that'll be reflected at the March meeting, because tax status date is March 1st.
Okay.
And that's the deadline by which we have to get pilots filed.
Mhm.
So I know of it two. So we'll see some, but it is a typical slow start to the year.
Okay, and on total expenses, year to date, looking at what we budgeted, that's a big difference for the month of January. And a year ago, we were at 184, so that's a more likely comparable to the 119 that we have today. But is that an issue where we're going to have that kind of variability throughout say the first quarter?
Well, that's positive variance though, right?
Right,
Because we
yeah.
budgeted 568.
But the budget was, you know,
Sure.
much larger for whatever reason.
Were there some program expenses that we thought we would have in January that
Looks like
just
it.
didn't materialize?
Yes, I think based on, the statement that I read through from Greg, it indicates that with program and community development, we're short of the budget because of the difficulty of predicting the exact timing
Sure.
of the expenditures
Yeah.
month by month, because it always depends on when, an organization, because we're on a reimbursement schedule,
Mhm.
so organizations have to expend the dollars and then invoice us
Sure.
essentially, and show us what they did with
So it's
the
just a
dollars.
timing difference.
Exactly, exactly. So for example, this morning I was meeting with Rochester Works, and they were going through, somewhat where they're at with some of their programs that we fund. And they're not quite where they had planned to be at this point of the year, so, you know, they're on a delay in invoicing us, so that's kind
Okay, that's helpful.
of the reason for that.
I didn't think we'd hang on to that variance for too
Yes.
long.
Right, well, and certainly now, you know, a lot of organizations are, the climate has a lot of uncertainty about available dollars for certain programs.
Sure.
So I think, COMIDA's funds are welcomed by a lot of these groups that we do work with through our Workforce Development Fund.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions on that? All right, shall we move forward with our first application today for Top Shelf Enterprises, LLC, DBA, We the Hobby. Anna, you want to walk us through it?
Yes, Top Shelf Enterprises LLC, DBA We the Hobby, a media and entertainment company catering to trading card hobbyists, is proposing a renovation of a building located in the town of Henrietta due to significant growth and the need to consolidate and expand its operations. This project is competitive with the states of Texas and Florida. Top Shelf LLC plans to expand its live streaming and e-commerce capabilities by adding modular streaming studios, a loading dock, racking equipment, and related furniture, fixtures, and equipment. Continued improvements are expected to occur in future phases. This phase project is projected to create 226 new FTEs over the next 3 years. The applicant is seeking approval of sales tax and mortgage recording tax exemptions only. The benefit to incentive ratio is 3,046 to 1.
Thanks, Anna, and we have Noah Morgenstern and Tyler Sullivan with us today.
This could be Noah Morgenstern today.
Okay, can you share a little more of the details?
Sure,
Behind the project?
Yeah, absolutely. So we operate on streaming platforms, Whatnot and Fanatics Live. What we do is a mix of what used to be kind of the QVC live shopping with sports morning show productions. We operate primarily through the sports trading card and what's called trading card games. So if you think of Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, Magic the Gathering, these type of products. So we have 8 studios currently. We're located across 3 different buildings in the city of Rochester, mainly around Village Gate, and then we have one out in West Henrietta. We're looking to consolidate those into a primary headquarters. We have hit our headcount limit and our space limit in terms of our growth with our studio production facility. We're going to be adding in this phase 8 additional studios, as well as the loading dock office and the assembly capabilities for what we manufacture and send out.
You've also asked for bids from Bradford County, Florida, and Harris County, Texas.
That's correct. So Bradford County reached out to us in Florida. This industry is primarily focused around South Florida, which would help us in locating where the primary talent source for the on-air personalities happen to be. In Harris County, Texas, our primary supplier is Fanatics Collectibles. They print all of the sports trading cards. That division is out of Dallas, Texas, so from a distribution and streamlined ability to get our products out to the rest of the domestic market, locating within 2.5 hours from them becomes a big benefit for our business.
So it's not as an option to Rochester, it's in addition to Rochester. Is that what you're saying?
So we're going to be consolidating the
all
headquarters.
of them. Okay.
So correct.
Right.
We'd be locating everything either in Rochester, in South Florida, or in Houston, Texas.
And are cards really cards today, or is it all
They're
virtual?
sports cards. If you look at the market, they
still
have
buying
value
them.
well above the S&P 500 for the top 50 players. Last year alone, we just passed 3 years of operation. We did 100 million last year. We're already on pace for 130 million, but we're going to be decelerating our growth right now without the addition of studios. The studios are the primary, if you think of them, digital storefronts for us to continue selling.
That's terrific.
Did you buy the building?
No. So the building's owned by a subsidiary of Flom. We would be taking essentially 39,000 square feet with another option to move into 20,000, and we have options to buy at various different intervals across that lease.
It's a really good location.
It's a great location for what that is, yeah.
Very impressive. Thank you.
Question,
Yes.
do you deal with vintage cards at all, or are these all new a new era of cards?
We do. Primarily, I would say 80% are new cards, especially on the sports side. We do have an element of what's called repackaging. So what we do is when products are opened or individuals want to sell us our cards, we procure them at discounts. Then when we repackage them into our own white labeled products, which we then resell under our brand. We have kind of sub-brands that we sell at different price bands on stream. And a lot of those tend to be vintage cards in there as well. And then on the trading card, which is, the Pokemon, the Yu-Gi-Oh, there's different eras of these products that have different price banding. The most sought after are ones that are prior to 2000, and we sell quite a bit of that. However, the price points for those tend to be $20,000 or higher.
What's your background? How'd you get into this?
Me personally?
Yeah.
I was a finance guy, worked on Wall Street,
Oh, okay.
worked in high tech in Israel for 7 years, came back, worked in commercial real estate, helped with the family business, which used to be Clover Lanes, turned into Radio Social, did Fifth Frame Brewing, have a place in Columbus, Ohio, hospitality side. So, a lot of real estate and customer experience. Got into this mainly on the real estate side, and then dealing with a lot of the channel management, which is essentially pure numbers based, right? We're trying to hit margins, we're trying to do show strategies, how we can upsell. So, kind of last 6 months have just been progressing within that company.
Yeah, I don't want you to misunderstand this question, because I'm very bullish on this area. So I'm curious, why be here?
Why Rochester?
Yeah.
So, the guy that started this, his name's Zach Stanley. He's a Brighton and McQuaid kid. Hired a lot of, the initial growth is, 8 people, all from kind of the east side. We have strong ties here, all our families are here. From the on-air personality side, we hire a lot out at Newhouse in Syracuse University, so we're establishing pipelines there for our on-air personalities. So there's some great synergies in terms of the pipelines that we can create around here, especially with the finance programs as well from Simon, and then RIT. We work with a lot of interns and co-ops from the New Media and from Golisano. So we'd like to be here, we want to be here. It helps especially from kind of the back office, keeping our OpEx labor costs down comparably to South Florida or Houston, Texas, where the prices are a little bit higher for our labor. So, allows us to push our sales a little bit higher, keep margins higher.
Great, thanks.
So, where do you see the business in 5 years, 10 years growth?
Yeah, so five years of growth, we're projecting within that 39,000 square foot, the initial 5-year footprint. We're going to be adding 19 different studios. Right now, we operate across Major League Baseball, the NBA, and NFL primarily. We just opened Pokemon as well. So we have roughly 2 studios per sport. We only operate domestically. Right now, those domestic operations are going to be growing into Europe, and then the NBA specifically is a big market in Southeast Asia and Asia mainland. That becomes a major growth factor. We believe we can have 10 studios dedicated just to NBA in the Southeast Asian and Asian mainland market. In Europe, we would be adding football and basketball as well, FIBA primarily. So our growth is basically each studio is dedicated to a different sport or a different trading card game. So as we're in Pokemon right now, we're expanding into what's called One Piece, Lacana, which is a Disney product, Marvel, which is also a Disney product, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Magic the Gathering. And then we haven't even hit NHL. We only have 1 channel for NBA. NFL, we only have 2. We believe as that grows internationally, which it is right now in South America and Europe, that's going to increase to another 2. And Major League Baseball, especially in the Japanese market, is huge. That's also going to grow to another 2 studios.
And you mentioned Zachary Stanley.
Yes.
He is the chief executive officer and owns 85% of
That's
the
right.
business, and I'm assuming he lives here.
He does, yeah. Yeah, he's a City of Rochester resident.
Right.
Yeah.
And why are you leaving the city of Rochester? I mean, they can't make any accommodations for you out in Arlington?
So, honestly, we planned at 23 Arlington, where we currently have filled up that space. We need at least another 50,000 square feet over the 5 years. We originally looked at 100 College Avenue, where Rochester Works is. Unfortunately, in order to grow in this first phase, we needed at least 14,000 square feet contiguous, which 100 College Avenue didn't provide. However, it had great parking and loading docks. We looked extensively across some other facilities, mainly for the loading dock capability and the parking field that we require. We couldn't find anything. Lauren obviously reached out to us and was very happy to accommodate at his facility. That facility specifically had redundancy on the electric side, so it used to be a single tenant facility, which was only Sutherland Global. They had their data center operation there. They had 3,200 amps of power, we need 1,600, so it existed. They had redundant 3,200 amps split between 4 800 amp Generac services, so we're able to use that existing equipment, as well as the ability to have symmetrical data facilities for networking. So for our uptime, we require at least 3 1 gig DIA service they already have that because of the infrastructure from Sutherland, so they have the demarc there. It's a lot easier and lower on the CapEx side for us to grow.
Nothing on Carlson Park at all?
We looked at Carlson, obviously they have the parking field and they have the facility. It is a very rough space. We would need to add all of the HVAC, so the MEP would just be, 5X what it would be. And they don't have the data requirements. We would have to bring in 2 additional data providers for that.
Okay. I had to ask the question.
What kind of jobs, I'm sorry, what kind of jobs are you
So
creating?
a majority of those are gonna be on-air personalities, so for each studio, we have 6 on-air personalities. They go in a co-host and a main host and a co-host, so it's 2 per. We have another ops team, which basically does all of the fulfillment, so quality control, the verification, and the packaging and shipping. Then we have channel managers, we have finance behind them, so essentially we have kind of a ratio. Every time we stand up a studio, we have essentially kind of 12 different jobs. Some are split across, multiple ones, but we have a ratio that we need in order to do the entire project.
So this 226 FTE, is that all local?
All local, yeah. So currently, we have, I think, 133 employees at the moment. We only have 3 employees that are outside of Rochester.
And RIT is a good source.
RIT is a wonderful
Talent.
source for the new media, so we have a large content team that does all of our marketing and social media and graphics. We also have a development team. We develop a lot of algorithmic programs that run essentially, if you think of kind of the NASDAQ stock market, we have kind of algo trading in order to understand what we can procure at the best rates. We have a lot of, we have software stacks that allow us to run analytics on the back end from a customer standpoint, that we can run CRM-based marketing programs, a whole slew of things. So that's on the dev and IT side. And then with Syracuse University and Newhouse, we're establishing a partnership, even a $25,000 a year scholarship that we're creating for Newhouse students.
Yeah. Okay, that was quite a summary. Any other questions? Obviously, we're fascinated.
Told you.
That's right.
If you have children, we have an amazing shop. We do a lot of live programming. This Saturday, we have something called the Tops Hobby Rip Night. So Tops, which is a large manufacturer, we're doing a massive event where the kids and families come. It's going to be a national event held at hobby shops across the United States on the 27th. We're also doing what's called the National Pokemon Day. So if you have kids that are into that, please stop by 23 Arlington. Otherwise, if you're into QVC or you want to do that with kids, all you got to do is download the app, Whatnot Fanatics Live. You guys can join us and see how the community gets built.
Got 2 boys over there who love
Yeah, right.
Pokemon cards all over my house. They worth $20,000, so Did you say Pokemon cards worth $20,000, or were those
So
trading cards?
the boxes, which are called vintage, so like Team Rocket is a $20,000 box, Team Jungle, Team Fossil, $16,000 boxes. We have repack products that can be a $250,000 product.
Yeah.
Change jobs.
I know, I was thinking I was wrong industry.
Really?
Absolutely. It's awesome, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great job with that. So, there's no public hearing required for this project. I'll ask you some local labor questions. Are you aware of our local labor policy?
Yes,
And do you anticipate any local labor exemptions at this time?
I do not.
And are you aware that any exemptions need to be requested 45 days in advance?
I do.
Okay, thank you. The seeker process is complete. I'll now ask for a motion for inducement and final resolution approving a sales tax exemption and mortgage recording tax exemption.
Move it.
Been moved by Norm, seconded by Rhett. We'll do a vote then on the motion. Norm?
Yes.
Truman?
Yes.
Lisa?
Yes.
Ray?
Yes.
Rhett?
Yay.
And Ann is a yay. That is unanimous. So good luck to you.
Thank you all.
Thanks for bringing all that
Thank you.
business to Rochester.
Very, very exciting.
I know, cutting edge.
23 hours.
Okay.
The one's on the 27th, that's gonna be.
The next item on the agenda is Penn Central Apartments LLC, and this is a housing project and it's the first meeting. It's the first meeting where we are going to discuss the elements of the housing project. We are not expecting to take any action on this project at this meeting. And so Anna, do you want to go through the highlights?
Absolutely. The proposed Penn Central Senior Apartment Complex will consist of 310 units situated on approximately 20 acres of land located at 354 Island Cottage Road in the town of Greece. The new development will consist of 2 buildings, 4 stories each with surface parking, and a mix of 1 and 2 bedroom apartments. The total projected project cost will be approximately $70 million to $75 million. The owner intends to construct and fund this project in 2 phases. Phase 1 will consist of 163 1-bedroom, 1-bath, 745 square foot units at a projected full market rental rate in 2026 of $1,700 a month, including utilities, and 17 2-bedroom, 2-bath, 970 square foot units at a rental rate of $2,049 per month, including utilities, for senior households and healthcare workers. Phase 2 will be a mix of 130 1-bedroom and 2-bedroom units and will be regulated affordable housing for those earning at or below 50% and 60% of area median income. The applicant is seeking approval of a real property tax abatement, sales tax exemption, and mortgage recording tax exemption for Phase 1 only, and is requesting a waiver of the affordable set-aside pending construction of Phase 2, which will be 100% affordable. And as Ann pointed out, no benefits are being approved at this time. As laid out in our policy, this is a presentation here today, and the board will perform due diligence and schedule a public hearing, and benefits will be considered at another meeting at a later date.
Okay, thank you, Anna. We have Mark Vaughn, a member with us.
Yes.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, everybody. So the project, on Island Cottage, Penn Central, I don't know if everybody's familiar with it, the old Penn Rail Station goes through the town of Greece there. This project is in 2 phases. It is senior driven 55 and older. Total unit between the 2 phases, 310, 180 in the first phase, 130 in the second phase. That affordable piece equals about 42% of the total project, okay? So we're asking, for some help here. There's some significant investment in the project because it is an old apple orchard. So there's pesticides that have to be remediated. Because the site is also quite a bit off the road, there's some significant site work that has to be done to accommodate both phases. And as anybody that's aware of the financing for affordable housing in the state of New York, it takes time. So there will be significant money put up front as we await awards from the state to get the financing. And we have been through it before, know that it's probably a 3-year process by the time we put the first application in, get denied, put it in again, get in line, and maybe the 3rd time you get approved. It's pretty consistent of what we found in doing the affordable projects in New York. So it's a great site. There's a huge demand for it. The market study proves it, both in the market rate as well as the affordable. In the town of Greece, which I'm a resident of, there is a waiting list at every one of the affordable projects in the town of Greece. And somebody asked me the question, well, is the town of Greece behind this? And will they support affordable? Absolutely. We received our negative deck from them back in December. Where the town of Greece is the current owner of that site. So it is a piece that they have put out 2 or 4 years ago when they did their master plan that said we want to see a development here. It's part of a healthcare program. There's a nursing home on the complex. There's another affordable housing project on the complex, and then there's some Rochester General medical sites or buildings on the site. Okay, So, it's really it's a healthcare campus in their mind, and this is part of the use that is approved in there. So, ask away, I'm ready to tell you all about it.
So for the financing, you said it's a 3-year process. Are you,
For the affordable piece.
are you intending to use like 9% tax credits or 4% tax credits? What?
We're working through that, so our partner on that affordable piece is Providence Housing.
Okay.
Which has 33 or 34 in the greater area of these projects. As this is a larger than most projects, the last project this size was built in the town of Greece. It was built at the corner of Ladder and Long Pond, but it was over 10 years ago. Most of the projects in the affordable market are smaller, especially in upstate New York. You know, if this was downstate or in the city, it'd get approved in no time. But we don't get the same benefits up here.
Are there any commercial facilities around this plot?
Commercial facilities?
Yes, shopping,
So,
restaurants, or are they just totally
Wegmans
all
is
housing?
not too far from there, Walmart's not too far from there, it is on the on-demand, RTS on-demand, okay? And the other projects that, the other affordable projects that are on that same campus use those services now. So if the people do not have their own transportation, we are, as part of the project, we will be putting sidewalks that connect the project all the way up to Ladder Road, up through Island Cottage, and, you know, connecting by the school and past there.
On page 36, they're the owners that are, I guess you're one of the owners, right?
I am one of the owners, yes.
Mhm.
The other owner is Ken Vasile, of Vasile Construction, and the third owner is George Cleaver.
George, right.
George was the CFO of EBV Goodwill until he retired several years ago. And now he's spending his winters down in Alabama. And Kenny's in New Zealand on vacation right now, so
Oh, wow.
I got the short summer.
So,
You mentioned a market study. Who commissioned that and
Who commissioned it?
yeah,
We commissioned it. It
Okay.
was a new market validation or evaluation that did it.
okay.
yeah, it's
And I
a
think
very
you provided
impressive
that?
study. Yeah, very
Yeah.
impressive, new work.
Yeah, I mean, it's, Newmark's, the leader in our area anyhow for those kind of valuations. That was one of the first things we did once we put the property under contract, was, okay, let's make sure it's gonna pan out and make sure it makes sense and there's demand there. But being a Greece resident and being active in our community, I know the affordable housing market is very tight in our market. There's several people that manage one of them, that is a member of our church, and, they just, it's very hard to get into them, there's waiting lists at these places.
Yeah, I mean, it's a national problem, right?
Yeah.
Affordable housing across the country, and specifically with respect to, seniors and aging in place, and affordable housing for seniors to allow them to age in place. So, commend you for, addressing their problem up front. I think it's commendable work. It's noble, and it's, very much needed in the communities. I guess I do have one question for you with respect to the affordability and the phasing of the projects.
Yep.
Have you given some thought to, given that phase 1 is 100% market rate and phase 2 is 100% affordable, the integration and the circulation of those, two developments side by side? Do you have any concerns about, the marketability of, one project's side by side being 100% market rate and one project being 100% affordable? How do you think about that?
Because we're building these of the spec that is, first of all, the HDR specs are higher than the market rate because of the demand by the state, okay? The buildings will look in the same architecture and the same look to it, they'll have the same feel. They all are 4 stories at the highest point, 3 stories at the lowest points. Both buildings will have a 4th floor community center with an outdoor patio going out on the roof deck, being able to overlook the ponds and up to Lake Ontario. No, we feel very confident that we will not have a problem. It's gonna be it's really a nice project, and we're pretty proud to be behind it and doing it.
Thank you.
It's impressive that you provided a statement of operations and a cash flow statement. We don't always get that much data on some of our projects, so.
Mr. Kleeman is very good, very good at what he does, and he's a great, asset to the team, and he's very thorough. And because of that, we've had, great success with some of the local lenders that, are ready to get behind the project.
So, do we have any questions? So we feel like we have enough data at this point to move forward to the next meeting. Okay.
Staff can certainly assist with facilitating, getting you more information in the interim between now and the March meeting.
Okay.
As we look to schedule a meeting to vote on benefits.
Right. That sounds good. All right.
All right, thank you for
Very
your time.
impressive. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, now we're gonna move into our modifications, and the first one is 55 GB LLC. And I believe Fred Lehman is here, he's the president. Anna, do you wanna give us a rundown?
Absolutely. 55 GB LLC, a real estate holding company, purchased and is renovating the former Gannett Publishing headquarters building located in the city of Rochester. This vacant building is being converted into mixed use. The renovations include an 87 market rate apartments, climate controlled self-storage and retail space. The project was originally approved in December of 2020 for sales tax exemption and mortgage recording tax exemption, and an extension of the sales tax exemption was granted in December of 2022. The applicant is now seeking another extension of the sales tax exemption through 2026 and an increase in project costs of $2,299,038, as commercial units on the property still need to undergo renovation, and the sales tax exemption is now not to exceed $911,565.
Thanks, Anna. Fred, any comments?
The building is occupied. It's actually 94 units, of which 25 are occupied, and there's another 6 or 7 that will be occupied soon. So they're starting to get on the residential side, about a third leased. The storage part of the building is done and occupied. There's 35 plus or minus people that are renting storage units, and actually they're not part of the people that are living there. So outside people are coming in and leasing the spaces, which is good for downtown. The building is fully occupied as far as accessible and occupied. The historical part of the building is done, and essentially what we're looking for is just an extension for the 2 retail spaces. There's 2 spaces on the first floor. One's about 12,000 square feet, and one's another 3,500 square feet. So out of the 216, there's only 16,000 square feet left that would be a retail space. There is a tenant that's actively looking at the 12,000 square foot space now, so they're trying to lease that space, and that would, take care of everything other than the little 3,500 square foot space, which is actually on the front/east, northeast corner of the building that faces the War Memorial.
And the 2.299 million is all attributable to
Cost of the
increase in
renovations for those
materials
2
and
spaces.
labor since the
Correct.
original approval.
Yep.
Right. Any other questions?
What was the total project cost initially?
36 million and change.
Thank you.
Which is on page 125, right? Yeah.
Yeah, 120, yes, 125, yeah.
Okay, any other questions? All right, I will ask for a motion to approve an extension of the sales tax exemption through December 31, 2025.
2026, yeah. I'm sorry if there's a
A
typo.
little typo there. Okay. You got me.
Sorry about that.
No, you just have to read the one above that.
The one above.
I think you're reading
Oh.
Innovation Partners.
You're
Oh,
right.
yes, okay.
You're
You two are
right.
trouble.
Thank you.
There's no typo.
Okay. This is the motion.
Not that I was
26,
correct.
Yeah,
you guys are
right,
2025,
right. So 2025. All right, is there a motion? It's been moved right by Rhett and seconded by Lisa. Any additional comments, questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, everybody.
The next.
For confusion.
All right, so the next modification is Innovation Partners, Rock LLC, Xerox Square, and Anna, you want to walk us through that?
Certainly. Innovation Partners, Brock LLC, is renovating the old Xerox Square property in the city of Rochester, creating a collaborative, academically focused campus facility. Phase 1 of the project was approved for sales and mortgage recording tax exemptions in September of 2020. Phase 2 of the project was approved for sales and mortgage recording tax exemptions in November of 2021. The applicant was approved for an increase in the mortgage recording tax exemption in 2022 and an extension in January of 2023. The applicant is now requesting another extension of the sales tax exemption through December 31st, 2025 to complete phase 2 of the mixed-use project.
And don't believe we have anyone with us today to
Not
comment
today,
further.
no.
Okay. I'll ask for a motion to approve an extension of the sales tax exemption through December 31, 2020.
Five, yes.
All right. Is there a motion? Norm? No giggling.
Yes, I'm not giggling.
Is there a second? Lisa?
I was doing the motion.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay.
Did we get a second?
Yes, we did.
Okay.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Okay, now the executive director has a whole bunch of items.
Just a couple things.
Oh, okay.
Thank you. So first and foremost, it's my pleasure to introduce Rebecca Horowitz. Rebecca is the Assistant Director of Monroe to Orleans BOCES. And she's gonna first share an update with us on the BOCES CDL Class B licensing course program that COMIDA funds through the Workforce Development Fund. The board approved $219,045 over 2 years, and 2025 is the second year of the program, which is subject to annual board approval. And Rebecca's also gonna walk through another request, a new request, for COMIDA today of our Workforce Development Fund for, what's called Jumpstart kits. This is a request to support the National Career Readiness Certificate Jumpstart kits for BOCES. The goal is to equip 10 Monroe County schools with kits for the pilot program to assist 10 high school students per school on career readiness. So with that preamble, apologies, Rebecca, please go right ahead with your updates, and thank you for joining us today.
Fantastic. We're gonna start talking a little bit about the third party, the progress that we've made towards becoming a third party test site for the DMV, which has been a really important component of our CDLB program. And I want to introduce Anthony Diatali, who is our transportation program coordinator with the funds that you approved last year. Anthony was actually step number 1. We were able to bring him on board to help bring in the expertise that we really needed regarding transportation in order to, fully bring our CDL program in terms of making some improvements to it, but also to become a third-party test site. We really needed somebody with a transportation background to be able to do that, and I'm gonna let him speak to the progress that we've made in the last year.
Perfect, thanks, Rebecca.
Thanks for having me, appreciate it. Good afternoon. Really excited to present to you on our third-party test progress. I think it was 9 months ago where we first came here and had nothing to present because we had not started yet. Still really haven't started yet, but we made great progress. Currently, as we speak, we have our second examiner hired and going through her training process with the DMV. Our first examiner has already been hired, is pretty much on her way to start testing by April of this year. So all said and done, we'll have 2 examiners hopefully ready to start examining by the spring, definitely the summer of 2025. We have a site identified out in Brockport on 4th Section Road across from Wegmans. We have a secondary site, hopefully potentially up and running soon at the Rochester Tech Park, which is going to be directly behind Amazon. That's basically it to report on now. We haven't officially tested any drivers yet, but again, by the spring or summer, we'll be able to start our testing underway. So this time next year, we'll have a definite report to give you as far as how we're doing in that area.
As we work on kind of working out just the logistics of being able to be a third-party test site, we're also starting to have conversations with our school districts in the area so that we can provide this testing service to the school districts. One of the things that we talked about when we first came in to start this application process is scheduling road tests through the DMV is a significant challenge for anyone who needs a CDL road test. There are limited sites, there are limited appointments available. People are often going to Leroy, sometimes even Pennsylvania, in order to get their tests done. One of the other challenges is that to be a DMV road test examiner, you do not need to have a CDL license. And so sometimes the individuals who are doing, the actual examinees, our students, have more knowledge about how to operate the vehicle than the person doing the examination. And so by being our own third-party test site, we have the expertise and we have consistency, 2 things that will benefit anyone who's looking to test quite a bit. So with that, we're hoping that we'll be able to provide that service to school districts. We even potentially can provide it to other government officials as well. And so just in the very, very early stages, looking to be able to provide that service to both the county and the city for their employees.
With a projected number of students in our class throughout the year being at 36, if you take 1 test per student, that's 36. If they don't make it on the first time, well, then you double that for the retest. So that's at least 72 tests per year just for our CDL program alone. If you incorporate the school district's employees, we're well into the hundreds per test throughout the year. Fortunately or unfortunately, however you look at it, the only Rochester test site in our area is now closed, which is on Lake Ave, the Kodak complex. So the only site available for school districts alone to go and get their test is either in Genesee County or out in Canandaigua. Sometimes we'll even to Warsaw, Wyoming County. So there is nothing right now that the DMV has planned as far as DMV commercial test sites in the Rochester area. So we're hoping to kind of jump on that and take advantage.
Absolutely. We also in our report provided an update on where we are with our CDLB class. We'll be back in a couple of months to discuss options for, again, the support for providing some tuition benefits for the students who take that class. But we're more than happy to take any questions that you have about either of the 2 projects.
Any other questions, comments?
I have a few questions. 2 months ago, or was it last month, Ibero came in front of us and they talked about the lack of bilingual training and training in Spanish for parts of the folks that they are serving. And that's something that we would anticipate that you guys would have an answer to or an opportunity to build on. And, the other thing is that, you know, we funded it for a year and we haven't gotten to a place where we can see any results.
Yeah,
So, it's a two-part question.
yeah. So we actually have had several conversations with iBureau about exactly what they're looking for. In fact, 2 weeks ago, we started a CDL permit class for English as speakers of other languages, specifically designed to help English language learners who are interested in transportation start that process. One of the challenges with offering a bilingual class is that the road test can only be delivered in English. The DMV will not approve a bilingual road test. And so to have bilingual education and then the final assessment to be English only presents a unique challenge. Additionally, adult education in New York State is mandated to be English only. And so our traditional funding sources would not allow us to do a bilingual class because it's a state education rule that it has to be English only. So we would have to seek all new funding to do that. And the pathway, again, the pathway to that bilingual education, to that road test, I'm not suggesting it's impossible, but it certainly is a challenge. And so the class that we've just started is, you know, our first entrance into that, to see what we can learn about how we support individuals from, you know, a variety of backgrounds to being successful to take both the permit and then the road test. And then we hope to have some conversations with iBureau in the future. And again, if we can find an additional funding source and develop a curriculum that we think will lead to success, I think that's the most important thing for us. We do not want to be in a position of a program that ultimately does not lead to success for individuals because they don't have the English proficiency to pass the final assessment. And then regarding your second question, so I want to make sure that we've made significant progress, starting from the day that Anthony came on, which was about not quite a year ago.
April 10th.
The process that we have had to undergo with the DMV has been quite lengthy, and so much of that time has been reviewing the contract and going through contract negotiations and finding a test site. And so we have made, I think, excellent progress to be able to start testing April 10th. And really a big reason why we're not testing earlier is because the next class that we have starts March 11th.
Yeah, if I could just add to that, the legwork to get started, as Rebecca was alluding to, is intense with the DMV. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of restrictions and requirements that they require of us. Once the training process in of itself is done and we're underway, it should pick up and be a lot less stringent. But getting off the ground with this is quite a chore.
Anna, is there a way that the county's DMV, through the county clerk's office, would that be able to assist them in that process?
I can make a connection with the clerk's office. That is a very good question, because the clerk's office oversees the operations of all of the DMV offices in Monroe County. To the concern about state level regs, I don't think that our local clerk's office has any, that's not within our local purview, unfortunately, about bilingual access to the exams. But that's a really good point about, because the clerk's office, similar to like the sheriff's office, while it's part of county government, it's sort of a different vertical. Mm-hmm. So there's not always a lot of cross-pollination between our departmental day-to-day and what the clerk's office has going on. So that's a great suggestion, and I can make that connection. And also to the point about Ibero, as Norman pointed out, we did have a great presentation from Ibero last month, and they have an aspect of their workforce development program that we have funded does include CDL. So I think, as you pointed out, Rebecca, you're in conversation with them, and there is this local grassroots effort to bridge that connection between Spanish-speaking job seekers who want a CDL and the established training programs. Hopefully we can create a successful model and build upon that.
Absolutely. I mean, I think one of the other challenges that we would find, and we have found this in our own programs, is finding instructors. So finding bilingual instructors who have the transportation expertise, but also have the instructional expertise. I'm sure that unicorn is out there, and if it is, we will find that unicorn, but it is a challenge, yeah.
You know, the other concern that I have is that we have county residents that have to leave Monroe County to get training. I mean, you have to go to Geneseo, to get their CDL test. They have to go to Geneseo, they have to go to Canandaigua, and we're bigger than all those other counties. And why can't we have a testing site here in Monroe County?
I think we're asking those same questions.
So I guess from an advocacy standpoint, we should be there, making sure that that is a valid point, that we wanna make sure that happens here.
Yeah, and we anticipate being able to test up to 200 people from April until probably through the next school year, but we aren't gonna be able to test private individuals. If that's not something that the third party will allow us to do. We'll be able to test, like I said, both the school districts that we are partnering with, as well as, potentially both county and city employees. But, a private business, that is not something that we're permitted to do. So additional advocacy for the DMV to open additional test sites, I think it would benefit everyone.
And I can flag that for the clerk's office, as well as, I don't know that the county executive's office is aware of the fact that there's no state DMV training center, there's sort of a vacuum. So I'm gonna flag that for them as well, because advocacy is super important, and leveraging the weight of our collective, county governmental offices it is very meaningful, in Albany, so.
At last, because I know what a CDL does for a person and changing their lives and giving them a chance to live. Have you worked with Paul McFadden at all?
Yeah, we actually partner with Paul on the Reach Out project. We provide the remedial education.
Okay, so Paul has a component right now that he's working on with CDLs.
Yep.
So I think I encourage, and he knows about the outreach with our bureau. So that might be a good opportunity to reconnect or to connect.
That would be excellent. Thank you.
And then,
Well, I think YAMTEP, I'm not positive, but I believe they have a CDL program.
Okay.
And you may want to reach out. No?
I don't. We also partner with YAMTEP. They provide transportation for some of our students.
Right.
And it's possible that they do, and I'm just not aware of it, but.
I could be mistaken. I thought I had a conversation with Tyrone Reeves a couple of weeks ago.
Okay.
And he mentioned something about a CDL program.
Okay.
And, and it was following the meeting that we had with Ibero. And so I specifically asked him, how do you handle like the bilingual component? And he seemed to have some thoughts to share with respect to that. So again, it could lead to nowhere, but if it's a phone call, maybe it's a phone call that's worth making.
Yeah,
Just ask.
so we see it as a win-win when we connect different funders or different people that are taking advantage of what's going on with COMIDA and them working together. It really closes that loop and makes sure that all the arrows are connected. So with YAMTEP, with Reach Out, it's not being funded by COMIDA, but it's being funded by the city. These are all different types of opportunities for you guys.
Yeah, absolutely, thank you.
Any other questions? Are we ready for a vote?
Yes, this motion would be so the next item is to the National Career Readiness Certificate Jumpstart Kits request from BOCES, Career Readiness.
On this right?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry, you're right, I jumped ahead, I'm sorry, I thought that that was just an update on the program, apologies, thank you, Ann.
We're approving, we need a motion to approve the second year of the contract to support the Monroe 2 Orleans BOCES CDL program expansion.
So moved.
Been moved and seconded by Ray. Any other questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, now, item 2.
Yes, thank you, Ann. The National Career Readiness Certificate is a nationally recognized program, and Monroe 2 Orleans BOCES is seeking to equip some of its educators across 10 different high schools with the tools necessary to educate students such that they can obtain the National Career Readiness Certificate. Career readiness is crucially important, as we can all appreciate, and I'll let Rebecca share some details about that.
Absolutely. So they're very different from CDL, but still certainly connected. So Monroe County, along with several partners, including the Chamber of Commerce, is currently investigating becoming a work-ready community. And a work-ready community is a county that has agreed to recognize a series of assessments that lead to an industry-recognized credential. And they also partner with employers as well as educators to kind of come together and establish an ecosystem that recognizes these assessments as an important component of career readiness. If you're not familiar with the work-ready assessments or the being a work-ready community, I think the easiest way to think about it is the SATs or the ACTs are a marker of academic readiness for college, and the work-ready assessments, which are also created by ACT, they are your measure of academic readiness for work. It's 3 assessments. It's applied math, workplace documents, and graphic literacy. And the 3 of them together, once a student has taken all 3 of them and scores at a particular level, they then get what's called the National Career Readiness Certificate. And that's an industry-recognized credential that basically states that they've met academic requirements to be ready for a whole host of different jobs. That certificate actually connects to ONET, and so a student, once they, let's say they receive the NCRC, they score at a level 5, that would be the silver level. It will tell a student right away exactly where they fall in terms of the academic requirements for the kinds of jobs that they are related to. It connects to over 30,000 jobs in ONET. So it provides both the employer as well as the student a great deal of information about somebody's academic readiness. What we are hoping to do is on April 24th, we, in conjunction and collaboration with several other organizations within Monroe County as well as a few outside, we're hosting a boot camp event for educators. So this would be administrators, career counselors, teachers who may be particularly part of a student's journey, both K-12 and post-secondary, to help educate them on what it means to be a work-ready community and how these assessments can help students make decisions for themselves about their next steps, as well as help educators support those students and help employers then hire those students, ensuring that they have the requirements that they need. As an outcome of this event, in order to help schools in our area become more acclimated and understand kind of in a more tangible way exactly how these assessments work, what we would like to do is provide what we're calling a Jumpstart Kit. It's a workshop that we will help develop with the school district to test up to 10 students on these 3 assessments and help them earn the NCRC, this certificate. And also educate the students on what it means to become credentialed. And certainly this is one credential, but there are many credentials that are available because there are multiple pathways to work, and college isn't necessarily the only one. So we would create this workshop in conjunction with the school district designed to help meet their specific needs, facilitate the assessments, proctor the assessments, and help educate them and answer any questions they might have about them as a pilot to help get them and get the word out and help different educators better understand what these assessments are and how they can help support student learning.
How do you identify the schools that you'll partner with?
So like I said, it will be an outcome of the event, and so really after that event, at the conclusion of that event, we'll be soliciting from schools the interest, who's interested in receiving one of these kits. We do have some additional funding so that we can provide the kits even to a few schools outside of Monroe County who might be present. And then if we receive, far more interest than we anticipate, more than 10, then at that point, we don't want to turn anyone away. We'll be seeking additional funding to make sure that we can support everyone in helping, usher in these new assessments and help them understand what they are and what they can do for the students.
At the national level, for individuals who receive this certificate, like what does the, percentage and job placement percentage look like for, individuals who have gone through the program, complete the program, and gone on to, attain job placement?
So most of the statistics that you'll find are really around counties as opposed to individual students. I will say, generally speaking, students who have this credential are far more likely to be hired and have better retention than students who don't have it. However, one of the things that you'll see in some investigation with these work-ready communities are that communities who have kind of signed on to be a work-ready community, which Monroe County is on its way to doing, as you see the percentage of individuals getting at the NCRC and receiving this, you'll see unemployment starts to decrease, and anywhere from 20 to 50% increases in the individuals who are receiving those. We'll see increases in employment and retention.
And one more question.
Yeah.
So, not everyone is good at taking tests, right?
Not everyone's going to take the test.
And we know that there have been some studies that show that even national placements exams have inherent bias, in the questions that are asked.
Absolutely.
Have you given any thought to that with respect to this kind of test? How that may impact the community and the individuals who may be more prone to be successful at this type of test than the target demographic that you're going after, right? To help address job placement and needs.
Absolutely, and I'll say, we aren't the creator of the assessment. We're, a partner with ACT in helping to use these assessments as a tool. And just like the SAT and just like the ACT, all assessments on some level are flawed. And I think the most important thing that we can do as educators going into it is recognize that and recognize that it's not a panacea. It's not going to be the thing that's going to solve, all of our problems. It is a tool. So what do we know about this tool so that we can use it effectively? How do we help support students in preparing to be prepared for the assessment so that it is as equitable as possible? Along with these particular assessments, there is curriculum that goes along with it so that you can provide, whoever the educator can provide the learning experiences needed so that they can be well prepared for the tool, and that should be embedded in the classroom as opposed to the SAT prep that happens on Saturdays that only a select number of students are really participating in. So it's part of the ecosystem of a work-ready community is accessibility and making it as accessible as possible, not just the test itself, but the preparation for it as well.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions?
I have a question. So for a work-ready community, so Monroe County, would someone going through this program, would all employers or some employers recognize that?
The goal as part of Monroe County, and I know the Chamber of Commerce is working on this right now, is to get as many employers on board to recognize it as possible. When last I checked, there were over 50, I want to say maybe 53 employers in Monroe County who have already signed on to recognize it, the University of Rochester being one of them. And so it's, continuing as part of the efforts of, various people and various organizations to try to get as many employers to recognize it as possible. I think a big part of that is having county support so that, employers become more aware of it. I know the paperwork is with Adam Bella, but I don't know what the actual process is right now.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Norm?
Who else is funding this?
Who else is funding this?
Yes.
So ESL has provided some funding for the assessments themselves. That is for a small percentage of students that we've been using the assessments with for our students. And like I said, if we have schools who might be attending who are outside of Monroe County, Orleans in particular, because Monroe, to Orleans works with both Kendall and Holly, we'll be using ESL money for some of those assessments. We also are seeking funding with WDI, and should hear about it today or tomorrow. And we also have 2 local employers who have provided funding for the event.
Okay. Anything else we wanna do at this point
No.
except approve it? The
No, and
funding for it.
I can get an update from the county exec's office on the county's, involvement in that program.
Thank you.
Okay.
And the funding requests are for the kits, correct?
Correct.
It's for the kids,
Yeah.
right, so
Yeah.
it's the assessments themselves as well as the labor associated with creating workshops for each district.
Okay, so I'll ask for a motion to approve $26,456 to support the Monroe 2 Orleans BOCES funding request of 10 Jumpstart kits during calendar year 2025. Moved by Rhett, for a second by Lisa. Any other comments, questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed,
No.
motion carried. Pardon?
No,
Did you say no?
I said no.
Okay.
I don't,
One nay.
yes.
All right, thank you. Anything else on that? Thanks very much for your presentation. Okay, next item on the agenda is the dashboard.
Yes.
And that's the last page of your materials.
I think I mentioned earlier when going through Greg's report that, you know, not a lot of activity off during the first quarter of the year. But you'll see some of the numbers tick up, hopefully as we head into the second quarter. And thanks to the board for allocating some increased resources to our workforce development fund, we're in a good position to kick off 2025. Are there any questions about the numbers that you see reflected in any of the boxes here in the dashboard? All right. Well, thank you all for your commitment and your time today. We appreciate it.
Okay, so, you don't need to take action on the dashboard. Under Chair Bird discussion items, I don't know if you all got a copy of the committees and committee assignments per person. I do need a motion to approve Truman Tolfree joining the Governance Committee, Ray Ryersey joining the Audit Committee, and Ray also joining the Compliance Committee. Is there a motion?
So moved?
By Norm, seconded by Rhett. Any other questions, comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Thank you. Now that puts us in good place for the annual meeting. That we don't have a couple of folks dangling out there.
When is the annual meeting?
Actually,
Robin sent out some calendar invitations in the last few days. We're looking at the month of March. Rachel, do you know offhand the date?
yes,
25th.
I'm gonna be.
The 25th.
Thank you, Rachel.
Sorry.
23rd? Rachel?
March 25th.
Okay.
March
Will be
25th at
well,
noon.
this coming February 25th, we'll have governance again. Then March 18th, we'll have committee meetings for the annual meeting process.
Okay.
And then March 25th, you'll have your normal meeting,
Which up?
What was the committee meeting?
the annual meeting.
Okay.
What was before the March 20th?
The March 18th, we're gonna have committees.
We already talked about that.
And the only like firm start date is the first committee, which is audit, will start right at noon, and then the other committees will just start as,
It's all on one day.
yeah,
That's efficient.
yeah, we've blocked
Mhm.
noon to 1:30.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, we already did that.
But the big meeting is the 25th
Yeah.
of February to go over.
The respondents to the RFP, yep, the interviews. And so Robin will also be reaching out in the next couple days to solicit some input for questions. So she'll hopefully be in touch maybe tomorrow for that.
And I'll be participating in that meeting over Zoom, so I apologize, that's a meeting a week from today, the governance committee meeting. I'll be in Albany, but I will have a secure internet connection and I'll be visible and accessible on the monitor. Sorry.
Or to take the train and drive off.
I'm taking the train. The last time when we went for our IDA conference, we took the train, it was great.
It's a long drive, it's like 4 hours, you know?
It's
So
just
I
such
think I
a boring
prefer-
drive
yeah,
in
it's
the
such a-
train.
I drive all the time.
Get
Do you?
one.
Yeah, I drive. You never?
Well, so, you know, I've got some property, but, you know, it's like,